Welcome to the Made in Monroe podcast. Boy, do I have a treat for you today. He's full of energy. I'm not sure he ever has a bad day. And I think he's just the absolute world's greatest cheerleader. In fact, I like to call him Mr. Monroe himself. I've got Roy Heatherly from the Chamber of Commerce here today. Roy, thank you so much for being here.
Colby, thank you. You are way too kind. Because
no, I'm not. That's accurate.
No, you and so many other people are Monroe. I mean, you make Monroe. The reason we're sitting here is because of you, Colby. And so anyway, thank you.
I like how you turned that.
I know,
right
I do. But we are, because this was your idea. The Made in Monroe was your idea. And it came out of your committee, the Community Engagement Committee. And one of the things that we've been trying to do for the last 3 years, Mayor Ellis talks about it, changing hearts and mouths. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to remind people how great it is to live here and all the wonderful things that are here. And you're a perfect example. You grew up here, you left, and you said, I got to get back. I got to get back. And here you are, and you're making such a huge difference. So thank you.
Thank you. Y'all see what he just did there. So actually, when we started talking about this podcast and sitting down and we discussed Made in Monroe, it did come from a place of wanting to get people's stories out, because we feel like that we live in really the greatest place ever. We'd probably have some people that would challenge us on that. But I believe we live in a wonderful community. It is comprised of amazing individuals that truly could be anywhere in the world doing what they're doing, but they have chosen to plant roots in Monroe, chosen to raise families here, chosen to establish careers here and keep those careers here and keep those businesses here, when really it may be easier for them to have them in a bigger city or elsewhere, but they've chosen to be here. And it's important to me to get those stories out, because I believe when we start telling stories, I believe that it challenges people. Mm-hmm. I believe that it causes people to want to take action. And it engages people.
It does.
And so that was really the why behind Made in Monroe, was to begin to tell the stories and to get those out. But whenever we discussed it, I really thought you would be in my seat. And somehow that got reversed and I got put in the seat. So it's really fun that I get to interview you today.
But think about it. You are the perfect face for what we're doing, and the videos that we're doing too, that talk about the zoo and our restaurants and the healthcare and the health, just the healthy Monroe and all. But you've done such a wonderful job of representing us and showing the world what Monroe is. And anyway, thank you. That's great. I mean, that's what our goal was. And we have such a rich history here too. And one of the things we talked about was capturing that history, capturing the story of Dewey Weaver. I mean, capturing Stuart Ewing's story and capturing these people who have made Monroe. You're right, they did choose to stay here, why they chose to stay here, but getting that so that we would always know why they did that. So we could go back and archive that generations from now. And you said some people may challenge when we say this is the greatest place in the world to live. I actually think deep down those people are jealous.
Yeah,
I think they wake up every morning and say, man, I wish I could be part of what's going on here.
Yes. Well, and I think you hit the nail on the head with saying capturing the why behind it, because I think that's the really important thing, because as we've sat down with so many individuals who are so influential in our community and have really made a difference and are really trailblazers, that the thing that you will hear every single one of them say is it's the people, it's the community, it's the people that make this place. And I really do believe that. It is the people that make this place. I mean, I travel all over the country for work, and I can't tell you the amount of times I run into an individual with a tie to Monroe, or who's from Monroe, or who married someone from Monroe. It's like, I have a friend and she says that all roads lead to Monroe. Monroe's like the center of the universe to her. And it's true. It really is.
Isn't it great?
The center of the universe. I never really thought about that till she said it. And I'm like, it's true. I mean, I was in New York a couple of weeks ago for a conference for work, and I ran into a guy and we were talking at this trade show, and he said, where are you from? And I said, Monroe, Louisiana. He said, no way. He said, I met my wife driving through Monroe. I was on business I met my wife there, and I actually got my phone out and recorded him and the story, because I wanted to bring it back to you and show you. I'm like, I'm in New York City and I met someone who met his wife in Monroe. He's not even from Monroe.
Isn't that great?
It's crazy.
And one of the things that, so we raised our kids here, because Sarah and you are best buddies.
Since kindergarten.
From kindergarten. And we ended up getting an opportunity to leave after everybody graduated. Gannett had come to us and said, we want you to move. After 2 years we lived here, we said, we're not moving. This is where we want to raise our kids, because it's home. It's very special. And when we moved away, we realized how special the people were. And when we ended up getting the opportunity to move back, one of the things I told Beth was, 2 things I want, Beth. I said, I want someone to smile at me in a grocery store,
Yes.
and I want someone that doesn't know me, that drives by me, to wave at me. And so we're driving back, moving here, and we get off the interstate. We're in front of City Hall. The first car we pass, this guy waves at us. And I said,
like,
Beth,
I'm sold.
we're home. We're home. It was great. Yeah,
that.
it was great. But that's who we are. And other markets might say it, but this is a special place. People are special here. It's our DNA. We care. We love each other. We are just excited. And one of the missions and part of the community engagement committee, and part of what we wanted to do was, Mayor Ellis talks a lot about it, changing hearts and mouths,
yes.
reminding people about what a great community this is to live in, right, and to raise a family in and do business in. And we started our Leaders of Change. We got 8 sponsors now, and we did the airport wall, and we're in Bayou. We're reminding people all we can. We're doing these podcasts and your videos. I just love your videos.
Thank you.
And you're making cookies one day.
I never know what I'm going to be doing each day.
But the cool things we have in this community,
right,
and it goes beyond our borders of Monroe. It's West Monroe, it's Sterlington, it's Richwood, it's Calhoun.
The impact is broad
for everything.
It is.
And Monroe is kind of the hub for that. We had a great announcement with Meta and all the changes that's going to bring positive. But what did they see in our community? They saw some resources, but they saw the people too.
Absolutely.
And they've fallen in love with this. Amazon's fallen in love. It's just a great place to be.
Well, and we talk about changing hearts and minds, but one of the things that you and I talked about was taking that a step further. And we thought if we could change hearts and minds, and then we could change people's mouths and what they said about us, which in turn changes people's perspectives. And I think we've been able to do that. I really do. As I'm going around, whether it's eating or I'm just in the grocery store or I'm out somewhere with my kids, I can't tell you the amount of times people come up and they say, I love these videos because I didn't know that story.
Yes.
I didn't know that existed here. And so it's really highlighting things in our area and in our community that people that have lived here for years had no idea that we had to offer. And so I think it's shedding a new light on this place that you and I have known as great forever, right?
Yeah.
Because we lived here and it's home. So that's kind of where I want to go next is I want to hear a little bit of your story. So you raised a family here, had a career here, and then you ended up moving to Tennessee.
Moved back to Tennessee. We had moved here from Tennessee.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then moved back to Tennessee.
Right.
Ended up in Wichita, and then all the way back
all
to
the way
Monroe,
back here.
Right?
So
tell me
God,
your journey.
God always has a plan. I had the job that I always kind of dreamed of was in Jackson, Tennessee, as publisher of Jackson Sun. Okay. And I never could get it, and I was always frustrated. And I had a wonderful publisher here named David Petty, and David said, you're worshiping that job. He said, you've let that job become a wedge between you and God. And I said, man, I went back, I was so convicted, and so I just forgot about it. I said, God, if you ever want to open that door, do. But and we started rocking and rolling at the New Star. Man, we bought Delta Style, we launched all these products, and we were doing such great things. Next thing I know, I get a call, and it says, we want you to be publisher of Jackson Sun.
You're like, you got to be kidding me.
And I literally almost said, I don't want to go, because I was having too much fun here. But we went, we had a wonderful experience. I love Jackson, love all the people up there. And it was a hard time. It was when the recession was hitting, the internet was exploding, and newspapers began their cutback. And I ended up, all the people that I had started at that newspaper up there, all the people that had kind of helped me along in my career, had guided me from a young person right out of college and taught me the business and helped me through when Beth and I were dating. I mean, got me through everything. I had to go back up there and lay a lot of them off for retirement. And it was hard. It was brutal. Yeah. But I think God put me there for a reason, because I met with every one of them when we did it. And we cried, we hugged, and I helped them go into their next chapter. Wichita came open. I'd grown up in Wichita, and I just threw my hat in the ring and didn't think anything about it. And next thing I know, I get a call, and I'm interviewing for the publisher in Wichita, and they offered me the job. And I'd been 7 years in Jackson, and they actually doubled my pay. I'd never had that happen. Wow. And so I told Beth, I said, she said, we got to go. So I had my mom. We all moved back to Wichita, and it was a challenging experience, because we began to turn that newspaper around. I went the day they took me over to introduce me as publisher. The guy walking me over there said, "Oh, by the way," He said, the day that you sell this building, shut down our printing and move it to Kansas City 3.5 hours away will be the happiest day of my life. And I said, that never came up in the interview. and so anyway, we accomplished everything we were supposed to. And one day someone showed up and said, your newspaper career is basically over. See you later. Not even a thanks, not even anything.
Wow.
Now, there's a great redemption story behind it. I'll tell it at another time about the person, and I have become very good friends that did that. But anyway, long story short, I was out of a job at 61, 62 years old. Yeah. Beth had to unretire and go back to teaching. She had retired when we moved up there, and I couldn't get a job. I mean, I would knock, when you're a publisher of a newspaper in the town of size Wichita, you know everybody because you meet people. I couldn't get a job. Well, you're overqualified, too much experience, blah, 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 blah. And finally, I had a high school friend who had just retired from the United Way. Yeah. And the United Way, and I called her and I said, I see in the paper, I see an ad that says they're hiring sponsored executives. Right. And so I took a job for $15 an hour as a sponsored executive. That's the only job I could get. Right. And I told them when I walked in, there was like 13 millennials and me. And the lady looked at me when I walked in to interview, and I could see it in her face. I said, I promise you, I'll outwork everybody. I said, I'll out campaign everybody. I'll do whatever you need me to do. And she took a chance, and they hired me. And in 13 weeks, I was the sponsored loaned exec of the year.
Of course you were, of course.
I had made more cold calls and presentations than I ever made in my life, which has helped me. Yeah. God had a plan. Right. And I worked myself into a full-time job, later became vice president of philanthropy. And Beth and I always wanted to come back because Sarah and Emma are here, 3 grandkids are here, John's in Covington. We always wanted to come back. And because we love the area. And so Sue Nicholson was retiring. I found that out. And Sue and Tom were really good friends. And I think Sue's did a magnificent job with the chamber. And so I threw my hat in the ring for that job. And it interviewed for a while. And all of a sudden it went quiet. I told Beth, I don't know what I did. Anyway, I didn't do anything. They picked it back up a little while later. And Easter 2021, the mayor did his first State of the City video.
I remember it.
And it was 8 o'clock on Easter morning, and I watched that, and at 8:30 it ended, and my phone was ringing, and Emma was on the phone crying, saying, Daddy, you have to move back. And I said, I'm trying so hard, Emma, I need to move back because there's something special. Mm-hmm. Mayor Ellis has done something very, very special. So the next week, I literally got down on my knees we were on a Zoom, and I said, please hire me. Please. I know I don't look I don't look like what you're probably looking for in terms I'm mid-60s and I got no hair. And I said, I'm not, but I said, I promise you I'll bring energy. And I said, there'll never be a day that goes by that I don't remind people in Monroe, Louisiana, how great their community is and how great it is to live here. Anyway, God opened the door and I flew down, I interviewed, and they hired me. And it's been rocking and rolling ever since. And I mean that, and it's still happening. The specialness that I saw when Mayor Ellis was, I mean, to me, he's done such an amazing job. If you look at our city right now, you look at where we're going. Yes. I mean, you look at the vision and the optimism that we have. Right. We have a master plan for downtown. We have a master plan for our parks and rec centers. We are one of the 2 cities in the state of Louisiana that have a music strategy. Building an economic strategy behind our music and our arts and our culture, and Kelsey McCrary's helped in that, and he's built this great team to do all of that. And then at the chamber, it's been so exciting. People like you getting young people involved with the chamber and getting them excited and fired up and wanting to go out and wanting to do this podcast. I mean, how cool is that? That here we are. We've got Colby Walker. And she sits here and she says, I just love this community. I moved back and I want to share that story. And now we're making videos about it that are going all over the world. And people in New York, and we had Mayor Matt Talbert in Sterlington had some people in, and they're economic development people and stuff, and they're in the hotel industry. And he wanted us to meet with him. So we sat down with him, and he said, we live in Memphis, but he said, we just watched that podcast that Colby did with Dewey. And he said, it was amazing. We had no idea. We've known Dewey for a long time. We had no idea. And people all over are saying, I learned so much from that. And that's what's so neat about this. But that's how I got back. Yeah. And again, God had a plan, and I've been so blessed. Everybody says, and I would tell, it's a beautiful day. and I tell people it's a beautiful day. But when I make a crowd stop and say, like, look at each other and hug each other or high five each other and say it's a beautiful day. You look at you can't. It's a beautiful day. You can't. It's a beautiful day. You can't do that.
You can't have a bad day when you say that, right?
You can't. And so now we have the beautiful airport wall that our Leaders of Change put up. And every time someone comes in or they get back home, they see Monroe. They see it's a beautiful day. Or if they're visiting here, we had a lady call from Ohio or something, and she said, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen." She said, "How cool is it to step out and it's a beautiful day and see all the icons of Monroe, all the different things up there?" And that's awesome. It is. But we have an awesome community.
We do. Well, and I think there's so much energy right now in our community, right? It's almost like there's a newfound energy over the last several years. But that energy hasn't died. No. It just continues to gain and gain and gain. And so, as we're talking about all of these amazing things that are happening in our community, and really since you've been back, it's just been an exciting ride because there's been so much good that has happened. But I do think that's a result of really good leadership that is working together, that is on the same page, and that is working together to make really great things happen in our area.
Without a doubt, Mayor Ellis, Mayor Mitchell, Shane Smiley, Mayor Talbert, Mayor Brown, Dr.
Roy
Berry.
Heatherly.
Well, we've all been part of, everybody is kind of checking themselves at the door and saying, what is the bigger goal here? And when I first came, Chris Kelly and I, West Monroe Chamber, we had dinner with Senator Cassidy. And I'd been here back a month, and I said, Senator Cassidy, what do you think of Monroe in Northeast Louisiana? And he literally, Colby, he does this. And he looks at the ceiling for a while, and he came back and he said, Ruston has their act together. And I thought, wow, I'm the Monroe Chamber. He said, I know you are, but he said, here's the deal. He said, no one got along. There was too many silos. But he said, it's changing now. You got Friday, you got Stacy, you got all this stuff. Now, fast forward to about a year and a half later, he comes in for the Southern Rail Commission, and he spends 25 minutes bragging on this community about all the great things happening, all the great things Friday's doing, and all this stuff. And I thought, wow, in that short a period of time. And now Senator Cassidy, he's one of our biggest fans. And, Senator Kennedy is, Congresswoman Letlow. I mean, we have this, they recognize what's going on here. And I mentioned in all those leaders too, we've got our greatest asset right out here on the bayou with ULM. I mean, people here more and more are recognizing what a great asset that is. And now you have VCOM sitting there right with it. You got the Biomedical Research Innovation Park going in right next over here. And I mean, there is really great things happening. Amazon's up and going, and this Meta announcement, and but you're right.
There's talks of other things.
It's
not done.
And Grow Nela.
Yes.
Mayor Ellis, I thought it was one of the most courageous moves I saw. Mayor Ellis has said since I've known him, he said, we are special and we need to control our own destiny. And he made a move that allowed us to get Grow Nela. And Amanda Edge led in that, and Stacy was part of that, and Shane was part of that. But Friday took the lead in that. And it was a time when he kind of bucked a few people doing that, but they quickly realized he was right. And now here we sit with these announcements happening and great things happening in our community. And I mean, how can you not get up every single morning and just say, man, this is so great. This is so good. I mean, you just have to, it's a beautiful day.
See, I told you we need to talk to you every morning. You'll never have a bad day.
You won't, because you cannot. I mean, we are so blessed. But you're right. You go back to it. The core of it is the people.
It is.
People here are so great. And here's one thing I found. John Ray talked about he talked about having this garage door mentality where everybody would get up, they would eat breakfast, they'd open their garage door, get in the car, go to work, come home, shut the garage door, and do their life. And we all kind of stayed separate and everything like that. That's changed now. And one of the cool things, well, I lost my train of thought of that. I'm sorry. I did.
That's okay.
No, but
that's okay.
it was.
You're talking about the people of Monroe, and the greatest thing here is the people.
Thank you. When I tell people, we just talked a minute ago about telling them it's a beautiful day and getting people to do that, but people here, it was like these light bulbs are going off. It is a great place. I mean, we had, I don't know, and I noticed it when we would come back and visit the kids and stuff, that we didn't feel good about ourselves. But now people are talking about, and I'm feeling good about I'm feeling good about here. And it's almost like, I don't want to say gave them permission, but reminded them this is a great place. Right. And they got, well, yeah, it is. Yeah. It is a great place. Yes. And, our mission is to create an environment where local businesses thrive. Well, if you love your community, if you think every day is a beautiful day where you live, you're going to do business there. Mm-hmm. Your businesses are going to grow there. Yes. And we've seen great growth at the chamber because people are excited about that. The young people, our young professionals, our leadership. We had 77 young professionals nominated for 20 under 40. 77 in our market. Wow. And the event is probably one of the greatest events because, we choose 20. But if we had a different committee, we'd probably choose 20 others mm-hmm. because they're all phenomenal. And they all come together. And at that night, they all come, and it's just this giant celebration of young and emerging professionals. And it makes me feel so young. It just really, it does. And I get to be part of that. And it's wonderful to be part of it. It's wonderful to see someone who I've known since a kindergartner grow up to be this amazing professional that is leading the charge of change in our community. You know how gratifying that is?
Well, I mean,
you talk about a blessing. Wow, Colby, you think about, it's just wonderful. It's just a blessing.
Well, thank you. I get to do it alongside you. So that makes it fun, right?
Yeah, it's fun. It is fun. That's the key thing. We have a lot of fun here. This is a fun
If you're going to do it, have fun doing it, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, wake up and work together and make it a better place. I always say, leave it a little bit better than you found it.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
And I think if we can all do that, and that's kind of all of our mission, then we will accomplish that.
I agree with you. And there's 5 years from now, people are going to wake up and 10 years from now, they're going to say, I wish I could have been there at the beginning. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I'm here now. Yeah. But 30 years from now, they're really going to look back and say, man, there was something special happening there. And they're going to be riding in on a passenger rail to this booming downtown. Yes. And, the Civic Center is going to be, it's going to be a complex and a campus. And it's going to be so many great things here.
Yeah. Well, I think about the memories that I have here just growing up, just as a kid in this community, and you want to give back to a place like mm-hmm. that gave so much to you. And I'm raising kids here now. I'm raising a family here now. And
beautiful family, by the way.
Thank you. I want my four girls to love where they grew up, and hopefully they want to be here and plant roots here. I'm not going to force them to do that, but hopefully they want to plant families here, and they want to make it a little bit better because they've seen all of the work that we're doing to accomplish that. And so, as we talk about Monroe and all the exciting things that are happening and all of the opportunities, I think we're just on the cusp of it. I don't think that we're at the end of it. I think it's just the beginning.
Oh, it's just beginning.
And so where do you see Monroe in the next 5 to 10 years?
I see Monroe just, I see Monroe and I see West Monroe and I see Richwood and I see Sterlington and I see, as Mayor Brown calls it, the quadruplex. But I see I see a bustling downtown in Monroe. I see not only nightlife, but I see retail coming back. That Bridgetown area where the mm-hmm. News Star used to be, I see it developed. I see a train station and passenger rail going back and forth. I see influencers wanting to move here and be part of this. I see not just one building at the Biomedical Research Innovation Park, but actually a park of things. And I see ULM just exploding out there. Their student growth is up. And I see all of that, okay? And I see more people moving here. And I see this river that we have running down the middle. become this great unifier. And people that experience downtown Monroe shoot across the river and experience downtown West Monroe. And so downtown West Monroe is just wonderful.
It is. It's
And
beautiful.
they go to Flying Heart, and they jump across and come back to Flying Tiger.
Yeah.
And you know, but I see a bustling town. I see a growing town. I see new manufacturing coming in. Rob Cleveland out at Grow Nela, he'll tell you that in his entire career, he's signed more NDAs here than he has anywhere else, because people are wanting to be part of this, and they're wanting to come in. So here's the other thing I see. I see a workforce that is trained and growing. Yes. And I see us, as Dr. Berry talks about, one of the strategic missions of ULM is to eradicate poverty. I see us making a huge dent in that. I see that ripple effect. You throw a rock in the water and it ripples out. Well, I see Monroe being that ripple, and I see us as we ripple out, we impact. Rayville's going to be impacted by the Meta announcement, but I see us impacting Winsboro and Columbia and all these other markets here. And this is our time, not only Monroe, but Northeast Louisiana. Right. We have been kind of forgotten, and that's led to that apathy a little bit, and not anymore. I mean, you know, I credit Mayor Ellis, I credit all our leaders, I credit Dr. Berry, I credit that. But if you look at Mayor, and you know, he has his Stetson hat, right? But he is everywhere. He's 24/7 Monroe, and I've gotten to know him really well, and I've never heard him ever say anything but, how do we make Monroe better? How do we make the region better? He's got a global view of this area. He's in DC, he's in Baton Rouge, he's on the road, he's back here, but all the time he is an ambassador for our region, right? And he's selling it hard. Yeah. And you know, I go back to the federal delegation, Cassidy and Kennedy as senators. They see what's going on here, but Congresswoman Letlow, and now Congressman and Speaker of the House, you know, Mike Johnson. I mean, we have got some.
We're strategically placed.
You know, we are. And they love the area, and our community loves them, and you're seeing the benefits of that.
Well, I think you said it. This is our time. I think that, you know, there's a season of preparation, right?
Yes.
And personally, and then in a community like this, there's a season of preparation and getting ready, and I think we're ready.
We're ready.
And so now's our time to shine, and
absolutely.
I think we're going to embrace it and embrace all of the opportunities that come our way.
Absolutely.
And I think we're ready for it.
We are absolutely ready for it.
We're sitting in a good spot to be ready for it.
Can I give a shout out to my staff?
You can, yes, okay. Absolutely.
So Terry, Daphne, Mike, and Ashley, we miss Sarita and Ruthie. They were with us when I got here and started, and they've gone on and they did an amazing job. This staff we have right now are warriors for this community. I mean, they are so, I get out of the way, I literally do, but I think our membership and our community knows how hard they work and how much they love our community. You talk about people who could be anywhere. Right. They could be anywhere, but they chose to be here because they love our community so much. So I just want to thank them. Yeah. They do such an amazing job every single day. They make it fun for me to come in. Right. You know, you always talk about, you know, you ever get down, da, 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 da. I never have to worry about that, because if I walk in at work, they don't let me, because they're so fired up and they're throwing whatever, and they're just exciting people.
Well, and I think that trickles down from the top. I always say, I think when you look at a company and you look at the culture, it really does start from the top and it trickles down from there. So I think you've done just an incredible job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Kind of the last little thing I want to leave people with is, what does Made in Monroe mean to you?
You know, that's a great question. And you and I have had many conversations leading up to the actual series beginning to start. Made in Monroe it's an opportunity for us to capture stories. And we have these amazing stories of people here. And the neatest thing is when someone says, I did not know. Right. You know, I didn't know Dewey. I didn't know about that, about Dewey or Stewart or the Holyfields. I mean, the Holyfields, what a great story. Right. Joe and Linda, holy cow.
Like powerhouses together, right? Pioneers in our area.
And both of them in their own unique way, but collectively together, and that's what, it's an opportunity to capture our history, but then to tell our story, because we talk about our people, they reflect our people.
Absolutely.
You know, you can walk up to Dewey over at the salad shop over here at Salad Station. He loves Salad Station.
Does.
But you can go up to him and he's talking to everybody there. You can find Joe Holyfield at CC's Coffee and just sit down and have coffee with him. He's in workout. I mean, that's how special it is. But we're capturing these stories, and when you hear their stories, you're going, whoa,
right.
you know. And I guess that's what it means to me, because we can't forget that.
Yeah.
People need to know, and our kids need to know. You know, we talked about 30 years from now. They need to know those stories. Yes. They need to know the stories of the people that built this community up, that they're now building up and making their own stories. But they need to know where we came from, and that's what it means to me. And it wouldn't have happened without you. And so I appreciate, because this was your passion, and you came back and you said, I like all our committees and I like being on the board, but we're missing one. And you said, we're missing community engagement. I want to tell our story, and I want people to know our story. And that led to this. And, you know, when we interviewed and all that, I'll give a shout out to Landon and Quentin.
Yes.
Because they came in with this strategy of, we had this idea, we kind of liked some video ideas, and they came, no, you need these 12 videos, you need to be doing this, and then we talked about the podcast idea, and they said, we got it, we understand it, this is what you, and so they captured it as well. But that's what it means to me. What does it mean to you?
To me, Made in Monroe, really, it means making a difference. I think I told you when we sat down, I don't like to just take up a seat. If I'm going to be on something, I want to be making a difference. I want to feel like I'm moving the needle some. And so I don't like to be a pew warmer.
Right.
And so I really, to me, it means making a difference. And we're making a difference because we're telling people stories, and we're getting those stories out there. And I think those stories are compelling enough to cause change.
Yes.
And lasting change, because I think what it's going to do is it's going to highlight individuals that are just like the average Joe, right?
Yes.
But they just believe that they could. And so I think that my hope is that it offers hope to other people to say, hey, I can do that. And you know what? I don't have to go to Dallas. I don't have to go to New York. I don't have to go to Europe. I don't have to go to Canada to make that happen. I can stay right here in Monroe, Louisiana, and I can plant roots, and I can raise my family here, and I can make a difference. And so to me, that's what it means.
And that's, you summed it up beautifully. And being able to make a difference in your little world, and then collectively, it makes for our greater world and stuff like that. But it does. It's inspiring people.
It is. When
they see that and they say, wow, that's me. You know, that's me 30 years from now, or whatever it might look like and stuff. So anyway, but thank you, Colby, for what you're doing. Thank you for moving back. Really, I mean, really, thank you for doing that, because I mean, you're who we want. And you're leading the way in doing that. And so thank you so much.
Absolutely. I loved my time in Orlando and Los Angeles and Dallas, but there really, as I traveled around, there really was no place like home. You come here, and again, I've said it multiple times, but you know, there you're just a face, and here you have a name. And so I think there's something really special about that. And so I'm honored to be able to give back to our community, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Well, you've done an amazing job. And I will say too, Sarah works here with you.
She does, yes.
And you guys grew up together and everything like that. But Dewey and you guys continue it, have built this culture as well. And this, you feel it when you come in this building. And it's not only an Intermountain culture, but it's a Monroe culture.
Yeah,
and that's pretty special. And she can't wait to come in.
Yeah.
She absolutely loves coming to work. This is family to her. And I think that's what makes a lot of our businesses special. I mean, you talk to the people that work for the Holyfields or Mark Ken Anderson at Mid-South.
They're family.
They're family. You know, Marty Herlevick over at James Machine Work, he says, I'm one of the newer guys. I've been here 30 some years, you know, but he's right, because you start talking to people, I've been 40 years and all that. And it's generational and stuff, but it is what a blessing to wake up every morning and look out and say, man, it's a beautiful day in Monroe, Louisiana.
Absolutely. I think that's a good place for us to end.
It is.
Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Colby.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.